Hello everyone. So today we are going to talk about one of my favorite project, ZenCash. And today we are very happy to have Mr. Rob, who is the co-founder of the ZenCash here to take our interview. So before the interview gets started, please let me have a brief introduction about our group and myself. Okay. So basically we are a group of engineers who are big believers in blockchain technology and also cryptocurrencies. So we started our social channel since last year, and so far we have 20K followers. Most of them are Chinese. And last year we published an article about ZenCash, which got a huge attention among our community. Besides, we also published an article about how to set up secure node to help our community's members to set up secure node. And so far, I believe we have more than 300 secure nodes among our community. So yeah, so that's all about our group and myself. So let's get started. So maybe the first question is, could you please give us a brief introduction about yourself and what role you have played in ZenCash team?
Definitely, and I have to say, so one of our team members, Jin, showed me your articles when you published them. So very well done, actually.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for that.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. So my name's Rob Biglione, and so yes, I'm a co-founder of ZenCash. And my background, actually, I'm a physicist and mathematician by background. So I first started my career in science, and then I migrated over to a little bit of business with finance and economics, and actually went back to school for my PhD in finance. So that's actually my kind of academic background. And then I got into cryptocurrencies. Actually, I just got lucky, I guess, early on being part of the kind of cypherpunk crowd that Bitcoin came from, and just a really big believer in the whole social aspects of the technology. And then I started working in the industry on the startup side, and then got really into this whole privacy side with ZK Snarks. And then I joined a project where we decided, okay, the core. I was part of the core team on Z Classic, and then we decided to fork Z Classic into Zen because there were so many issues that we still saw with the industry. And some directions that we could take the technology, the governance, and the social applications that we thought we needed our own project to do. So that's where we got to where we are now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Seems like you have very solid background in cryptocurrencies. Yeah. So yeah. So the next question is, could you please give us a brief introduction about ZenCash for the people who don't have much knowledge? ZenCash? Yeah.
Absolutely. So ZenCash, I'll have to say, we started off as a very private cryptocurrency, but actually we're moving in a very different direction, which I think is very interesting. So ZenCash is really a security-focused platform. And our first and probably most important product on the platform is our cryptocurrency, but we're actually building out a whole different set of stuff. So we're actually, so maybe for your listeners, this is interesting, is we're about to release a white paper that introduces side chains to ZenCash. So we're very much moving into the direction of being a platform where one of the first things that we did from moving from a cryptocurrency was we started to incentivize all of these people to set up nodes, these secure nodes that you mentioned that your group set up, over 300 of them. This, I think, was the first important thing that we did, was because now we have over 8,000 nodes in our network. So it's a huge, massively decentralized network that's actually, in terms of node count, we're approaching Bitcoin, if not passing Bitcoin in the total node count, not just the secure node count, which we realize is huge. And let's turn this around and let's start building a platform on top of this massive node architecture. So now we're doing a whole bunch of stuff like a distributed file storage system, like a decentralized version of Dropbox, or like a Filecoin. Or Sia Coin, for instance. We're building that as one of the applications on top. We're about to announce something called Zen Grid, which is where, now that we have all this computational power with a node network, we're going to start renting that out and offering another opportunity for our node operators to actually start earning an income. We're looking at things like building a decentralized exchange on top of the node network. So basically, the way that I tried to explain the product because there's so much going on, so many moving parts, is we're actually creating sort of a decentralized or virtual nation where anyone in the world can come and be part of it, and we're starting to build a whole bunch of kind of like closed or open economic system, a peer-to-peer economic system on top of it. It started with a cryptocurrency, but it's going so much further and will ultimately include an exchange, file storage, communication systems like a chat system, kind of like a WhatsApp sort of thing on there, and a whole suite of products and services that are just really useful for people.
Yeah. That's awesome. Previously, I thought that ZenCash is just a cryptocurrency, but now I realize that's your team is very ambitious. Yeah. So, yeah, that also helps me understand why you guys need to so many secure nodes. Yeah, so that's awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my next question is, how do you compare ZenCash with other anonymous cryptocurrencies like Monero, Dash, PVX? So what makes ZenCash so unique?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and we get this clearly all the time because people think about us as when they try to mentally put us in a frame or project, they think, okay, privacy-oriented cryptocurrency, and then they think about Dash, they think about Monero, they think about ZenCash. So that's one of the things that we do. So we, as a privacy cryptocurrency is one of our products, we compare in the sense that we use ZK snark. So we use zero-knowledge cryptography. So just in terms of the cryptography, we compare most closely to ZCash. So we're part of that class or that family of privacy cryptocurrencies where, for instance, Dash. So here's the evolution of privacy cryptocurrencies is they started off by saying, well, Bitcoin's not that private because you could actually trace every single transaction that's ever happened. So, if you can link one person to a transaction, you can look at everything that they've ever done. So then Dash came along with other kind of tumblers or mixers. Is they started just combining transactions together and mixing them off-chain. And then Monero came along with CryptoNote, or one of the most successful versions of CryptoNote, where basically they do the mixing within the protocol itself. So all transactions get kind of mixed within the protocol. And then these zero-knowledge cryptography class currencies came around, starting with ZCash. And that's actually why we forked from a project that used ZCash technology, was because we wanted to grab this snark library, these kind of zero-knowledge proof technologies. And so that's how you could compare us just from a technology level, but we're doing so much more. So we started with the zero-knowledge cryptography, and now we're expanding that out into this platform. And the platform is, I think, the most interesting aspect of what we're doing, and that's the real value proposition. And then we're kind of this platform that's building on all these services that are adding value on top of just the cryptocurrency. But now we're also sort of an R&D or research incubator where we have these really, really interesting research projects that now we're working with, like, for instance, our industry partner, IOHK, which is a Hong Kong-based research firm run by Charles Hoskinson. And this is the technology team behind Cardano, the really, really, or massively successful, platform project, Cardano. We're working with their team of researchers on some really interesting projects.
Okay, thank you. So I understand what makes ZenCash different from other privacy coin. So just now you mentioned about the IOHK partnership. Actually, that is a very exciting news. So my next question is related with this partnership. So two months back, you guys announced that you established a partnership with IOHK, who is behind the Cardano. So basically, this partnership, you said, excuse me. So you will focus on two aspects. First is voting. The second is scaling, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
So could you please elaborate more about this partnership and what is the latest progress? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So these two really big projects. There's actually three projects. There's one that is the three are the scaling and voting project. So basically, we're building a next generation voting system into our protocol, which is very interesting because Dash really, what I think was the most successful first mover in the voting space, where they said, okay, we're kind of diverting block rewards away from the miners, and we're going to create basically a community fund that the community can directly vote on, or in their case, the master nodes could vote on how resources were used, which was massively successful. They did a great job, but there's so much that we can improve on that. So one of the first major project that actually will be going to production that we're working with IOHK is we're building all of that logic into our protocol so that we don't have to have off-chain, nodes that are running the software that get to vote, or a special privileged class of people that get to vote. Basically, anyone that holds any Zen will be able to vote directly within the software protocol itself on how resources get allocated. But we're taking it to a whole new level. We're actually using game theory economics to supercharge your voting system and create a voting system that makes much more sense, is theoretically rigorous from a scientific perspective. So we're using things like ZK snarks for our zero-knowledge cryptography for secret balloting, so that even from an economics perspective, when you create a mechanism, you look at mechanism design, is you don't want the voting process itself to influence the outcome of the election. So that's why we use secret ballots, so that we can have a whole voting cycle where people get to vote on all of the projects that they're interested in, and the voting itself won't influence the projects. For instance, in political systems, often when you're voting on candidates and you see that there's only two, like in the U.S., that only two candidates that will capture most of the votes, voters only focus on those two candidates and they forget about everyone else, which is a bit of a problem in voting systems because you don't give everyone a fair chance. But with secret balloting, now every project proposal gets a fair chance because no one knows which are the clear winners ahead of time. And then we also overcome voter apathy by paying people to vote, which is another really interesting aspect of the project, because now you can make money by mining, you can make money by setting up a secure node, and now you can make money by voting, which is cool because we want to incentivize people, like, go ahead and please participate, and we'll actually pay you to participate. That's one of I think the most exciting projects that we have going on. And it's all what IOHK has done. It's already in prototype being tested. So the prototype is being stress tested right now by looking at scenarios where we load the testing with, say, we have 1,000 voters, 10,000 voters, or 100,000 voters, and we see how the system behaves with all of that. So that's where we are in that project. But we're going from the IOHK team is doing the prototyping, and then we hand that off to a production development team to actually build it into our protocol. So we'll have the prototype done, or it is done, but it'll be through testing in the next month, and then we'll hand that to another development team to actually build. So that's one of the projects. The second really big one, which I think we should definitely talk about, is there's this big movement in the industry to go to what we call directed acyclic graphs. So it's basically the IOTA technology, right? So you've got IOTA, you've got Byteball, you've got Hashgraph, and these other really successful projects that are taking off and becoming so valuable because investors seem to love them. We're actually taking it to the next level. We're actually looking at, so these other projects like IOTA, for instance, are transaction graphs. So basically they generalize the blockchain. So a blockchain is really just a kind of a chain of blocks that are bundled transactions that have a hash pointer back to the previous block. So you have a single chain, and they're proof of work based. So basically every miner is trying to win a race to see who adds the next block to this chain. What we're doing is we're going to generalize that. We're going to create in computer science this graph structure or tree structure where we're not going to waste all of these blocks that are miners try to create and then lose the race. We're actually going to use them all, and we're going to create, say a dozen or 2 dozen blocks per second of transactions and add them to a tree structure, which is going to take like next generation level of what IOTA is doing and massively increase the transaction throughput of our system. So this is going to be a huge protocol upgrade that I don't think the market really understands how important it is. So we're going to have a proof of work optimized block graph structure probably by the end of the year.
It sounds very complicated. Actually,
but it's great.
Actually, one of the questions also related with this DAG. So because we know that the IOTA actually invented this algorithm, right? So it's actually totally different stuff. It's not like a blockchain technology. So some of our community members, they are afraid that if we apply this algorithm, it may cause huge impact on current existing structure. So like consider algorithm, the mining and stuff. So actually, they are a little bit worried about this.
So yeah, actually, let me actually maybe say something that they would like to hear is we're actually choosing a protocol that's optimized for proof of work mining. So we want to keep mining. We don't want to make mining go away. In fact, we want to make mining more profitable for individuals.
Oh,
so
really? That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Keep proof of work mining. In fact, we're going to have probably about 12 to 20 or so blocks created per second. And so the mining variability is going to contract quite a bit. So the variability in block solve time contracts. So now it's going to be more profitable for individuals to mine Zen. Whereas now individuals basically join mining pools. Now individuals will be able to actually mine themselves without a pool and still have kind of a profitable experience. So I think it's great for miners. I think miners are going to love our new protocol.
So speaking about mining, so is it possible that in the future ZenCash change the proof of work to proof of stake? Is that possible?
It's possible. So it's not something that we're looking at currently. So this is a decision that the industry is talking about much more because we are being criticized for using so much electricity. So people are thinking, okay, well, the whole point of mining is to create a sort of randomization process for who has the right to add the next set of transactions or the next block to the ledger. That's the whole point, is to create a random process. And there's other ways to create random processes. For instance, a random draw in a stake-weighted fashion, what we call proof of stake. And there's a lot of projects like Ethereum that are popularizing the idea of moving away from proof of work mining to something that's maybe more ecologically sustainable. We're not looking at that yet because proof of work is the most security validated approach for this randomized process for consensus. So we're all about security. Our blockchain, even more so than privacy, security is the most important thing to us. So we don't want to weaken the security right now. And proof of stake just doesn't have the same security characteristics from a theoretical perspective that proof of work does. So we have no intention of moving away.
Yeah, I agree. So it's all about the trade-off between security and performance, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So my next question is, recently there is one of news that one of the Japanese exchange called CoinCheck, they delist a few privacy coin like Dash, Monero, also the ZenCash due to the government afraid that those privacy coin may be utilized for some illegal activity like money laundering.
Yeah.
So my question is, what's your opinion about this news? And how is it possible that ZenCash to implement some technology to prevent those illegal activity happening? Yeah.
So one thing that I like about our project is, and I think this is really important that a lot of other projects don't have, is we have normal Bitcoin transparent transactions, like an address type, transparent address type, which I think is really important for even every privacy project. So we have transparent addresses and we have shielded addresses. It's the shielded addresses that are the most vulnerable to be exploited by people, criminals. So what's important for exchanges, though, is we only list on exchanges with transparent addresses. So I think that this removing privacy coins, I think that they need to make a distinction. So we very intentionally maintain transparent address type because it's important for us. There's so many use cases in the real world that require transparency. For instance, our treasury fund, our nonprofit organization, we want the world to see everything that we spend money on. So that's, for us as a business, it's really important to have transparency. So when we go to exchanges and we only list transparent addresses. So I think that other projects like Monero have an issue because they force every transaction to go through this big mixer to be private. We don't. And in fact, I think it's important not to do that because there's so many businesses that, for accounting reasons, they need transparency. So I urge the exchanges to make the distinction is we offer something just identical to Bitcoin. So they should not delist us, right? They should list the transparent address types. They should not put us in the same category as a project that forces everything to be anonymous because we don't. Security is important to us, but we also have a huge part of our business is being transparent. Unfortunately, we can't control everything that everyone does with their technology, but we very clearly make a big distinction between us versus other projects that intentionally target dark markets. So there's some projects that they actually market to the dark markets to be used as part of that. We do the exact opposite. We do things like we support charities to rebuild homes after hurricanes. We try to be the socially conscious project that's trying to make people's lives better and have a social impact. So yes, of course, our technology could theoretically be used by criminals, but we want nothing to do with that. All right, everything that we do, our marketing, everything is geared to a social impact. It's an unfortunate situation, but like cash, for instance, could be used by criminals, and governments can't prevent cash. So I think governments and regulators need to look at the criminals themselves and not the people that have technologies. Like a cell phone could be used by criminals, right? Cash could be used by criminals. It's just an unfortunate aspect, but we have nothing to do with that.
Yeah. That's awesome. So my next question is also about the policy. So as you know, actually, some of the governments trying to compromise individuals' freedom of speech in order to monitor the society, to control the public opinion on some social events. So, but as far as I understand, ZenCash project is trying to give us an opportunity to express ourselves. Actually, to some degrees, ZenCash is not in line with those policymakers. So my question is, in the future, how does ZenCash deal with those pressures from those policymakers?
So for policymakers, it's unfortunate. You can't violate the rules of math. Mathematics is mathematics. So the cryptography that we use can't be violated. And we made a design choice to use very strong cryptography for everything that we do because we do believe that human beings have a right to privacy. And there's so many social applications that they can develop or social use cases that add value to society that require privacy for people. So, our system gives the individual or empowers the individual with the ability to communicate with each other safely, which is important, even from a hacking perspective. So the way I look at it, and I urge policymakers and governments to be tolerant of what we're doing, because there's so many important use cases that require privacy, for instance, so that our users don't get hacked and all of their information released to the world and they become compromised and they have their money stolen or their identity stolen, right? So there's so many reasons why privacy is important in just business. So that's our perspective and the technology that we bring. And unfortunately, it can't be backdoored, right? The cryptography is just too strong where we can't compromise it, right? And Apple just had this issue in the U.S. The FBI, our Federal Bureau of Investigations, our national police force, ordered Apple to basically unlock an iPhone. And Apple told them, we're sorry, but we can't, because if we compromise the cryptography and the technology, we all of a sudden open up our system to being abused by all these criminals and hackers. So we have the same perspective as Apple has, is we can't violate the privacy because then all of our users are exposed to criminals. So there's this trade-off, and I hope the governments can respect it.
Yeah. I hope so. I hope so too.
Yeah.
So my next question is, currently ZenCash team have more than 50 team members. do you have any plan in Asian Pacific in terms of recruitment? And what talent are you guys looking for? Could you please share about?
Yeah, we do definitely. So we've expanded very rapidly. In fact, I would say the project has never been healthier, and we're doing so many things. So we did a big reorganization a couple months ago, and we went from this sort of open source kind of volunteer-oriented project to now we're a professional team that is operating like a very hungry startup, like a Silicon Valley company that is doing so many things at once now, and we're kind of we're now organized into 7 divisions. So we have our engineering team. We have about half of our team are engineers, and they're operating in like super speed on our engineering projects. We have a business development team now that is kind of going out there and creating all these partnerships with people around the world, exchange listings. So we have a whole pipeline of these partnerships that we'll be announcing over the next couple of months. They'll be very interesting for people. We have a marketing team that's doing amazing marketing now. We have an operations team, a finance team. We have an R&D team. Right? So we're doing so much now. And our team is located all over the world. We have kind of like teams all, co-located in different regions around the world. A lot of them have been in the U.S. We have a lot of European teams. And now we're trying to build out our Asia teams, I think is really important. So we have teams we're trying to build out in, obviously China, Hong Kong, really important markets for us. Singapore is very important. Korea is very important. Japan is very important. So we have these markets that we're really trying to focus on now. So we need a lot of help, actually. We need help. So basically what I tell people is we need help everywhere with everything. And that's, we need engineers. We need people that understand technology, right? We need people that understand marketing because we have great technology. We have really good research. But now we need to explain this to people. So people that can bridge that, who understand technology but can still explain it to people, like kind of what you're doing. This is actually very important. That's why I was so excited to come on your show, because this is exactly what we need to be doing, is explaining technology to people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep. So, by the way, how many of the team members are full-time employees so far? Could you?
So we have about half of them are full-time and half of them are part-time. So about 25 or so.
That's a very big team. Big decentralized team.
It is. It's an expensive team too. So we're very fortunate. So our funding model, I think, is an important part of our value proposition. Is the fact that we have every block that's mined, we get funding that we can pay our team is important. And I think that there's so many other projects out there on the market that don't have that. So when the market crashes, I think it's really bad for a lot of projects. But we can keep operating and keep funding people. In fact, we're growing into the downturn, which is unique.
So actually, I think the trader model that ZenCash is using is actually one of the most advanced technology, I believe. So that keeps the ZenCash continuously development. So
exactly.
And
I think
awesome.
In the future, more projects. I think it's going to be the dominant model in the future. They have to do it, or how can they compete with us? So all of these projects that get, say, a whole bunch of money up front, I think it's inferior because, number one, how do you determine what you invest? Say if I got $100 million today, how do I determine what projects I invest in today versus 5 years from now? You have no idea. How do you time phase your budget? But then also, if the market crashes and the value of the money that you took up front goes down, what do? You have no funding 10 years from now. But we're guaranteed to have funding 10, 20, 30 years in the future. And that's our horizon. So we're looking at this like we're like the Amazon of the industry, where we're looking at a 50-year time horizon. We're not looking at what are we doing today or tomorrow or next year. We're looking at where are we going to be in 50 years. And I don't think many projects look at this that way.
Yeah, seems like you are going to spend the rest of your life with ZenCash, huh?
Exactly, that's the point. Exactly, we want
to. So, I have one last question. So this question is about the community. So, what do you want to say to those Chinese supporters of ZenCash?
Yeah, I would say thank you guys very much. So you're early adopters because initially we actually didn't have like a Chinese website. We didn't have our white paper, our documentation in Mandarin, Cantonese. But we're starting to actually work really hard with a Chinese team. So we need help. And I really appreciate all of the Chinese early adopters. I would say if you've been following the project so far like you guys have, you're really early to the show, and thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
But we need so much more help. We're really just getting started, and now actually you'll see in the coming months that we're working really hard to get on a lot of Asian exchanges, which is the first step, or I should say social media, our website, our documentation being in Cantonese and Mandarin is really important, and we're working on that really hard, and we could use a lot of help. We'll be on a lot of Asian exchanges in the near future, so that's also really important so that Asian traders will have access to be able to buy and sell Zen easily. But what I urge people is please help. So we have one of our new, heads of our China team is Lucy, and she's awesome, and she's doing a really good job at kind of coordinating our China community and helping get the social media, get the word out there to people to come and participate. So please reach out and think about how you can help the project and join our team, join our community.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you for attending this interview, and I believe ZenCash is definitely one of the most promising project in 2018. And after this interview, I'm going to buy a lot ZenCash. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I think doing interviews like this and reaching out to guys like you who really understand what we're doing is wonderful, because you're so far ahead of the game right now, because you understand what we're doing, you see the potential, and you're helping us communicate this to the world. And thank you so much for that. We need more efforts like this.
Yeah, thank you. So have a nice day.
Yeah. Thank you. You too as well. All right.
Yeah.
Take care.